If you guys want K'naan to perform for us, then we need to leave the stage. Okay, he likes the crowd. He likes the crowd. Okay, K'naan, it's all yours.
Hello! How are you guys doing? What an amazing night, no? Incredible. So when Ilhan called me to come and you know, celebrate this moment with you guys, I got so excited. I left and came here without any instruments. I literally just left and was like, I'm here. But no one invites me to places for my good looks, I realized. And so, I'm going to play, oh wait a minute, I need a mic on this. Is there a sec? Yes. Can you put this on? So because I don't have any instruments or anything, I'm gonna use this thing. And thank you. And you know, we all know this incredibly historic moment that Ilhan had just delivered for all of us and all of the world. I think this moment is not, it's not to be taken lightly, because I think it'll have a generational ripple. I honestly do. And so, but we all know she's amazing, and she's the first of this and first of that, first. But what I'm going to invite her to be, you know how in rap, like rappers always have a hype man? Well, let me give you the first Congress hype woman of all time. Check it out. And we need you to do this. In this rhythm. See that beat? Until the lion learns to speak, the tales of hunting will be weak. My poetry hails within the streets, my poetry fails to be discreet. It travels across the earth and seas, from Somalia to the West Indies and Europe. Researchers studied in parts of Greece. Born and raised in a place where the tone of flame would blaze, where the foreigners not embrace, where they warn you jog and pace, where the loners slow, where they gaze in the corner, slow in the chase. Twist and turn and amaze with a pistol on your face from time. Come with me to my lungs, the depth and be overrun with passion. See how I come, no cash, I'm free in the slum. The past can we overcome? I'm asking we be the ones to actually be the ones to free our people from guns from time. Until the lion learns to speak, the tales of hunting will be weak. My poetry hails within the streets, my poetry fails to be discreet. It travels across the earth and seas, from Somalia to the West DC. Yes. First ever. Ilhan, like this song of mine that I think, you know, I seen it in her campaign. But before this song, you know, became whatever it became, when I first wrote it, there was this little story in it, this part of the song that never really made it into the actual recording. And it was about when me and my family came, you know, it was detailing the story of me and my family coming from Somalia. Do you guys want to hear that?
Yeah!
I'll need your help in the chorus part in the song if you know it. It goes a little something like this. When I get older, I will be stronger. They're calling freedom, just like a waving flag. Okay, so then the story went. I got off the plane in America, feeling insane in America. It was me and my brother, sister and mother, and then it hit me, 'cause I was thinking, where are my friends and why aren't they with me? But I will make it and rep you strictly. Remember how we heard about New York City? Yes. Well, that's where I am. We moved to Harlem until the INS gave us a problem. So we had to sneak up into the T-Dot. Toronto freeze us. The whole thing was rough. That was the 90s. I was young and I started writing, open mic ciphering, till my skills brightened. Back then, if it wasn't bling bling, then it was in sync. I started thinking, I remember singing, when I get older, I will be stronger. They call me freedom. Like a waving flag. I was born to a throne, stronger than Rome, but violent prone, poor people's zone. But it's my home, all I have known, where I got grown. Streets we would roam, out of the darkness, I came the farthest, among the hardest survivors. Learn from these streets, it can be bleak. Accept no defeat, surrender, retreat. So we're struggling, fighting to eat, and we wondering when we'll be free. So we patiently wait for that fateful day. It's not far away, but for now we say, when I get older, I will be stronger. They call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And then it goes back. And then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes. When I get older, I will be stronger. They call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes back. One more thing. So many wars, settling scores, bringing us promises, leaving us poor. I heard them say, love is the way, love is the answer, that's what they say. But look how they treat us, make us believers. We fight their battles, then they deceive us, try to control us. They couldn't hold us, 'cause we just move forward like buffalo. So we're struggling, fighting to eat, and we wondering when we'll be free. So we patiently wait for that fateful day. It's not far away, but for now we say, when I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes. When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend,
Hey, David!
Assalamu alaikum. What an honor it is to be here at this joyous celebration.
Yeah.
And thank all of you for being here, and especially thank you for sticking it out. Ilhan was a little busy taking some votes in Congress, and let me just say we are well on the way to getting this country back on track. I have been blessed to call Ilhan a dear friend for many years. We've worked side by side in the struggle for justice. We've put in long hours at campaign offices. We've run some pretty great conventions and lost a couple big races, but won some even bigger ones. And we've also had some pretty fun talks at Perkins over coffee. In the time that I've known Ilhan, I've had the opportunity to introduce her quite a few times. I've had the opportunity to introduce her as a community leader, as a policy expert, as a campaign manager, as a congressional candidate, as a state rep, as a representative elect, but tonight is a special honor for me because I get to introduce her as something a little different this time. Tonight, I get to introduce Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Now, before I do that, let me say a couple things. Some of you know me. More of you don't. My name is David Gilbert Pedersen, and since 2015, I have had the absolute privilege of chairing one of my best friend's campaigns. For me, these campaigns, her campaigns, have been an opportunity to see firsthand the beauty of our democracy. They've renewed my faith in organizing, they've renewed my faith and belief in progressive policy and my love of the political process. This journey for Ilhan began long ago, but my intro to this journey started with her in neighborhood coffee shops and university bookstores. It happened in public housing high-rises and neatly trimmed backyards, and in some school gymnasiums. And it began with a very simple premise. Democracy and her leaders should be representative, responsive, and reflective. Now, November 8th of 2016, the night that Ilhan was elected as a state rep, making history, this country also sent Donald Trump to the White House. Since that day, we've seen the power that politics has to divide and to oppress. Over the years since then, we've seen in Washington is a politics of fear and a politics of division. We've seen Donald Trump and his political cronies villainize our neighbors who look differently than us, who come from somewhere different than us, who pray a little differently than us, or who love a little differently than us. We've seen the power politics has to destroy. But in the face of all of that fear, and in the face of all of that hate, all across this country, we stood up and we said no. We said fear and division won't define us. We will rise above hate. We will overcome division, and we will chart a new path forward. A path that Ilhan has said should prioritize equity, center inclusion, and a path that demands justice. That's the path that Ilhan Omar is charting. That's the path that we're charting. During this campaign, we've seen Ilhan defy the odds at every turn, breaking barriers and beating expectations. But this campaign taught the world about more than just her identities and did more than just send her to Congress. This campaign showed the world that you don't win elections by running to the middle. You run them by taking bold stances, which is why Ilhan was the first candidate in the Minnesota primary to say that we needed to abolish ICE. This campaign showed the world that the way you win elections is by centering voters and the things they care about, which is why for every dollar this campaign spent on advertisements, we spent 5 on talking to our neighbors. Everyone here has been moved by Ilhan's message. It's why you volunteered your time, your money, and your work. And without you, none of this would have been possible. As I wrap up, in his last speech before his death, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Let us move on in these powerful days. These days of challenge to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make America a better nation." As we continue this sacred work that we've been working on, and as we move forward in these challenging days, there is no one I'd rather have fighting for me in D.C. than Ilhan Omar. So for the first time ever, let me introduce you to my friend, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you all. I'm more than honored that so many of you showed up, stayed for like 3.5 hours as I took my first votes, and is still here to celebrate with us on what was a very historic day that concluded a very historic election and a very historic journey that I've been on. So I was really excited that K'naan was coming. Because everybody who knows me knows how much I love K'naan. Yes. And how much I love his song. And I fell in love with his song because my son, Adnan, first fell in love. And it sort of trickled down or up. So I want to thank him for canceling the important work that he was doing, to take a moment to be here with us, and to not celebrate only with me, but with all of you who have come together to celebrate this historic night with all of us. So I heard that you all got entertained a little earlier by another person who I love, Halimo, who joins us all the way from Sweden. I talked to Halimo a few nights ago, and she said she was coming into Minneapolis possibly for the New Year's. And she said, "I'm such a fan, I wonder if I can meet you." And then I started crying, because I was like, I'm a fan. And it would just be such an honor if you came and celebrated with me in DC for my inaugural celebration. So thank you so much, Halima, for making the journey. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you for sharing your talent with the world. I also want to thank my family who came all across this country and the world. We have family visiting from Canada, from Dubai, from England, from Somalia, all over, and all over this country. So I want to thank all of them. But I mostly want to thank my husband, my children, who sacrificed so much for me to have the opportunity to serve the people of my state who have become like a family to me. So thank you.
Yeah! Showtime!
And I want to thank my beautiful nieces who are on stage. My sisters and brothers and aunties and uncles who are in the audience. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank my father. Many of you might have seen the message he sent out about the journey we made. My dad and I have been through a lot. There are two things that were really important to my father. One was that we got an education, and the second thing was that we were always happy. Everyone who knows my father knows he is always smiling.
MashaAllah.
He's the happiest person I know. And I've always wondered, for a man who has faced so many struggles, so many losses in his life, how he remains so hopeful, so happy, so optimistic. But it is very internal in him, very innate in him, and it's something that he's transferred to all of us, his children.
Yes, Ilhan.
His name is Nur, which means light,
Yes.
and he's the light of my life.
Yeah.
And he becomes the light of anyone who ever has the experience of knowing him.
Bravo,
I thank
Ilhan.
my stepmom, who, as anyone knows, for a motherless child, it means a lot to have her support and her encouragement and her guidance. So grateful for you. To my big brother Ali. The constant hype man. And I truly appreciate everything that you have done for me and all the ways that you stand by me. To my campaign team who's here, I love you all. Thank you so much for making the impossible possible.
Yes.
And to my staff here, who I am having a joyful time getting to know, and to my staff who will remain in our district office in Minnesota, I am grateful for your bravery in signing up to be on this journey with me. We're going to have some fun and make some good trouble. And David, who is like a little brother to me, thank you for believing when nobody really could or did. It's really odd for someone so young to be so wise and to be so brave and to be so courageous and to be so bold, to sign up to help the first Somali legislator get elected. And then 2 years later, sign up to send her to Congress. So thank you. Thank you. And to all of you guys, thank you so much for being here. I love you. And finally, I want to say thank you to the people of the Fifth.
Yeah.
The people of the Fifth are one of the most amazing, compassionate, forward-thinking people in this country. Many years ago, in 2006, they made a bold decision to send the first Muslim person into Congress. And my brother Keith Ellison, Congressman Keith Ellison, and the soon-to-be Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, paved the way for so many Muslims to think of themselves as people who had a position in American politics, people who belonged, people who could start thinking about what it meant to take their rightful places in the people's houses across this nation. So because he took lots of punches on our behalf, that this refugee could think about being here today. In 2016, 2 days before the election, Trump came to Minnesota and said, there are refugees coming into your state without your permission, without your knowledge, without your acceptance, and we have to do something about it. And the people of Minnesota had a very clear answer for him 2 years later. They said, not only do we welcome refugees, but we send them to Washington to welcome. So here I am, sworn in.
Yes.
About to deliver some check and balance. And I am thankful to the people of Minnesota and the people of the Fifth.
Yes.
For making that bold decision to send that clear answer. And I know that they will hold me to it. And I expect all of you in this room to hold me to it. That we are so going to hold them accountable. And that we are going to make this country one that lives up to its ideals of inclusion, of religious liberty. One that recognizes this is a land that is stolen from indigenous people. Black slaves, and one that welcomed immigrants so many years ago, and still will continue to send them to Washington to represent the So we have a big task in front of us. We came into Washington with the government shutdown over a silly, immoral, politically driven wall, which is a symbol of hate and xenophobia and racism. That tonight, when we took the vote to reopen the government, we rejected. So I am excited for the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, next couple of months.
Yes.
To be a part of the progress that will happen in this country. One that will deliver for its people. One that will restore, reshape, and reinstitute hope in its democracy. One that will center people in our politics. One that will lessen the grip that corporations, the greedy, and the special interests have on politicians and on Congress and in the White House. A dear friend of mine, Representative Erin Murphy, says, "We believe in the politics of joy. And this isn't the time for tiptoe politics." So I know that we are going to spread the politics of joy, the politics of inclusion, the politics of unity, and we are going to reject divisiveness, and we are going to reject hate, and we are going to reject people who want to destroy one of the greatest governments, one of the greatest democracies to exist on this earth. Because true patriotism is believing in your people and in your nation, not an administration or a leader. That is dictatorship entirely. So it is an exciting time in Washington. So many of my sisters, over 100 women in Congress, got sworn in today. We have nearly 55 Black members of Congress. I got to witness the swearing in of the 2 first Indigenous women. 2 of the youngest members of Congress.
Yeah!
An exciting number of Latino members in Congress.
Yeah!
And the one thing that excites me is the fact that my sister Rashida and I got to be sworn in as the first 2 Muslim women in Congress. Now, I know people will say identity politics, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But here is why it's important for people to celebrate the election of Rashida and I as the first 2 Muslim women. It represents so many things, especially this time. I come from countries right now that are on the Muslim ban.
Yes.
If this ban was happening
You wouldn't be here.
23 years ago, if the reduction of refugees being allowed in this country was happening 23 years ago, my family and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the opportunity to get an education, start a family,
That's right.
and now get to represent all of you in Congress. Now, my sister Rashida is of Palestinian heritage. I heard she was here. Is she here? She's still here? Is she here? Okay. So, yeah, are you here? Are you here? Rashida is of Palestinian heritage. She understands what it means to be oppressed. She understands what it means to be of heritage that is used as political football. She understands what it means to be of heritage that is invisible, unspoken of, and undefensible. And today, the voices of Palestinians across this world got uplifted and amplified in ways unimaginable to most of us many years ago. The other reason The other reason it is important for everybody to celebrate the election of Rashida and I as the first 2 Muslim women is that for so many years, there has been a particular narrative developed on what a Muslim woman looks like, what she acts like, who gives her permission to do what, who has a right to her voice, to her body, who helps her get dressed in the morning. Can she leave the house or not? And today, as we walked in to the United States Congress, we said, we give ourselves permission to be here. We get to decide what we wear when we leave our houses. Our rightful place is also in Congress. Our daughters, our moms, our grandmothers, our aunties have always been the backbones of all of our communities. We have never needed a permission or an invitation. All we ever asked was for people to step out of our way so we could take our rightful place. When that didn't happen, we moved people out of the place, and when we needed to bulldoze through them, we did. And so now we're here. And every fear-mongerer, every hate-filled member of our society has to deal with us. And if they can't, they just have to deal. Yes. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for showing up in all of your communities. The task ahead of us is a daunting one. But I know that as tiny as